Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Nurse Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Five-star combo guard, Boogie Fland, who a lot of people think is the best point guard in the 2024 class. Some people classify him as a combo guard, others as a point guard. But all in all, he's a really talented player. He's committed to the Kentucky Wildcats over the Indiana Hoosiers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'm going to go over how important this addition to the Kentucky basketball roster will be for John Calipari and the Wildcats, and whether I believe that Boogie Fland can really help out the Wildcats in the 2024-2025 season. Now, Boogie Fland is a really talented player. That's why he's ranked as the #1 point guard / combo guard in the 2024 class, and he's 6'2", and he's around 170 pounds, so he's on the smaller side, but he has fantastic speed. He can get downhill and attack to the basket, and he can also hit a jump shot as well. And he's a pretty good facilitator, but he was down to Kentucky, Indiana, and Alabama. Now, most people did not think Alabama was really a serious player in this recruitment. It really went down to Kentucky and Indiana, and up till 24 hours ago, it looked like Indiana had Boogie Fland in the back, especially after Liam McNeely, a five-star small forward, he committed to the Indiana Hoosiers last week, and he even announced on his commitment date that he wanted Boogie Fland to follow him to Indiana to really create a big class for the Hoosiers and be able to have a great tandem class that possibly would help elevate themselves to the NBA. But he did not decide to go to Indiana, and at the last minute, Kentucky started to get the recruiting predictions that Boogie Fland was going to go to Kentucky instead of Indiana, and that ended up being the case. And Boogie Fland even stated himself that the past success that John Calipari has had with other guards like De'Aaron Fox, Jamal Murray, Malik Monk, and tons of other guards that Kentucky has had, all of those other five stars that Calipari has recruited and got to Lexington and been able to get to the NBA. That's ultimately what drove Boogie Fland to commit to Kentucky over Indiana. Now, if you're an Indiana fan, there's a lot of other players that the Hoosiers can possibly get. You always have the transfer portal, so it's not all over for Indiana. But for Kentucky, this was actually a very important recruitment for them, just like Indiana, because if Kentucky does not land Boogie Fland, there's other guards out there that they could have possibly have gotten, but then they would have had to rely on the transfer portal like Indiana's probably going to have to do now, which is really tough because in the portal area, you just don't know if you're going to get that high-profile guard in the portal. If you go ahead and get him in the high school recruiting class, it can go a long way. And all Kentucky had in the 2024 class was Somto Cyril. He is a four-star center. He committed to Kentucky a few months ago, and that's a good get, but to not have an elite guard, that would have really dampened Kentucky's 2024-2025 season, especially if they weren't able to get a high-profile guard in the portal, because most of the really good players that Kentucky has in 2023, like DJ Wagner, Aaron Bradshaw, most of those guys are probably going to be off to the NBA after their freshman season. So that would have left the well really dry for John Calipari and Kentucky. And to land Boogie Fland, that shores up their guard rotation. He's a really talented player, and I do feel like that this is just another example in a long line of five-star guards that Kentucky has had. And again, a big reason why Boogie Fland decided to go there. When you have all of those examples of guys that go to Kentucky and they have success, and then they go off to the NBA, and then they make millions of dollars, and they're one of the best players in professional basketball, it really makes Kentucky look good, and it makes John Calipari look good. And you have to be able to land these guys. In Kentucky, they brought back their lead recruiter, Orlando Antigua. He was a big reason why Kentucky had recruiting success before. John Calipari has brought him back onto the staff, and you can see it paying dividends right here with the addition of Boogie Fland, who is the #1 ranked point guard in a lot of people's minds. And if you missed out on a guy like this, nobody else that you're going to get is probably going to be as talented as him. So for Alabama and Indiana, like I said, you're going to have to find someone else in the 2024 recruiting class or in the portal to really help you out in that season. But for Kentucky, they really do have their point guard for that class. It's really going to help out that team. We don't know what Kentucky's roster is going to look like because we do not know how many guys are still going to be on the team from this 2023 basketball team that the Wildcats have. They're going to have to find out after the season how many of those guys return. So then we'll see what Boogie Fland's going to have around him to be able to possibly lead Kentucky to a lot of success in the 2024-2025 season. But regardless, this is a big win for Kentucky basketball and John Calipari because, let's face it, Kentucky hasn't been to the Final Four since 2015, and they've been really struggling in the SEC the last few seasons of being the top team in the SEC. Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, some of these other teams have had even more success than Kentucky has, and you've got other programs like Missouri and Texas A&M nipping at these top teams' heels as well that are playing much better. So if Kentucky wants to stay at the top of college basketball. And if John Calipari wants to stay in the good graces of Kentucky fans, which there have been plenty of them that have not been happy with the way Kentucky has been playing the last few years, then some of these really good players have to help Kentucky translate to a lot of wins and to get them far into the NCAA tournament again. They might have that this year with the DJ Wagners, Nazir Cunninghams, and the Aaron Bradshaws of the 2023 class. But now with Boogie Fland and Santos Cyril in the 2024 class, if Kentucky can add another player or two, maybe a small forward or a shooting guard to that class along with Boogie Fland, or even get a transfer portal player or two, Kentucky might be set up well for the future in the next 2 seasons of having a lot of success in college basketball. And we're going to have to see how well Kentucky does. But landing Boogie Fland over Indiana and Alabama was a huge star because he is a cornerstone to any recruiting class for any team in college basketball. He's one of those can't-miss recruits for sure to watch in college basketball, and Kentucky landed themselves a good one. And now John Calipari has a lot to work with possibly in the next 2 seasons in college basketball to get Kentucky back to the top of the sport. And we'll have to see if he can add to the 2024 class along with Boogie Fland, Santos Cyril, and be able to possibly get a top recruiting class in college basketball like he's done so many times before. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Boogie Fland committing to Kentucky over Indiana or Alabama, and whether you're surprised that he picked the Wildcats over the Hoosiers, and how much you think Boogie Fland will be able to help John Calipari and the Wildcats in the 2024-2025 season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.